Yo, what up? It's Teacher. This is part 2 of how to mix a home recording. Right now we're about to go into mixing the drums. First I start with the kick. Alright, we're going to deal with the kick, the regular kick bus. It's not the parallel compressed kick. This is the kick without any effects. It's going to be lower. Now I'm going to add the compressor that Cakewalk comes with stock, the Sonar X1 anyway. They have an 1176 emulation as well as a SSL 4K. I use the 1176. You can see the settings over here. I can hear a little more attack. The input's at 12.7. Attack is real fast, fast as it can go. Release 292. I also use the EQ to help roll off some high end, because after I use the compressor, I got a little clicky, a little too clicky in my opinion. So roll it off a little bit, but also bump the mid so it can still be present. Now the plugin I'm using that's not from Cakewalk is Wave's Renaissance bass. This adds a lot. Nice subs. If something is lacking subs, you can just slap this onto it and it'll work magic. You can hear right now. I don't know how well you can hear that through the mic that I'm using through the recorder, but substantial difference. Alright, now I'm gonna unmute the kick drum that's being sent to the parallel compressed bus, which goes through my DBX 160 XT. Now you can hear that. A lot more mids, a lot more oomph, punch. I'll mute the regular drum bus so you can hear how the parallel compressed drum sounded without the regular drums. You hear that? It's very clicky. A lot of mids. Very present in the mid-range, so it'll translate well across all mediums. From small speakers to big speakers. Now we put back the other kick. Now going to the hi-hats. Don't really do much to the hi-hats. All I did was pan them and roll off. I put a high-pass filter on them because we figure our hats don't need any information below like 300 hertz. So I just roll off all that to try to create more space down low, and hopefully clear up the hi-hats as well, make it a little more clearer. That goes to the secondary bus that goes out to the Dangerous 2 bus. Now we got the snares, similar to what I do with the kick. I use the 1176 for the normal snare, and on the EQ I rolled off a little bit on the bottom, because that information most likely doesn't need to be there, and try to help create more space. I added a little more top end to try to open it up. But as you can see with the 1176, I'm just touching it, because it's already a good drum sound. Now we're going to add the parallel compressed snare. So similar to what they did with the kick. Present, grittier feel. I'll mute the regular snare so you can hear how it sounds. Now I'll bring it back. Now also with the regular drums, I do have drum bus compressor, I use the Waves API over here. You come over here, the Waves API drum bus compressor, just kissing it a little bit. It's at a +8 threshold with an attack at 1, ratio 4, release 0.05. Thresh knee is at hard, detector thrust is normal, and tone type is old. And we have automatic gain on as far as the gain at 5.2. I'll switch it off to let you see how it sounds without it. You know, a little more laid back, not as more upfront, not as much. You know, a little more knot with the Waves API. That's what you want. Usually with a hip hop track, a little more in your face, not with the kick and snare. Now I'm gonna add the sample. Now with the sample, what I do is I send it to the main melody bus, and what I do here is I use the URS and Mix EQ. I think this is a great tool. Sounds amazing. I roll off a little bit on the bottom end, all the way up to about 79 hertz. Then I go to the low mids at about 3, you know, around like 400, 300 in that area. Play around with a tight Q. Lower the dB a little bit, see what cleans up the track, make it sound a little more cleaner. Go to the mid frequencies, about 800, 1000 in that area. Play around with those frequencies with a fairly tight Q as well, 2.6. Lower it just a smidgen, so it doesn't get annoying to the ears. You know, it gets smoother. Also, I go to the high mids, similar type of concept. Go to about 4.2. Those are the frequencies that are most present in the human ear, and I try to make it not as present so it's not annoying. It doesn't fatigue your ear. Okay, so what I did is I used a fairly broad Q as opposed to a tight one, and lowered the gain a little bit, about 1.5. And then I use a shelf EQ at about 13 kilohertz, bump it up to give it a nice airy quality. Then I go to my UAD Fairchild compressor. You know, this has a nice, you know, this is the vintage Fairchild that it's supposed to emulate. You know, I always liked the way it sounded, so I always stuck with it. So what I usually go is with an acoustic jazz preset, and just let it kiss the meters a little bit, not too much. Play with the threshold till it sounds right. Have it at 4, and the release with the input gain.